Malaysian Grand Prix catch-up, Jev wants more points, and Sebastian Vettel feels confident that Red Bull can turn things around in China. This is the Lewis Round F1 Update. So we'll start off then with the Malaysian Grand Prix, and what a race. Fernando Alonso taking his first win of the season. The rain started just as, about 5 minutes before the race started in fact. It left half the track seemingly dry while the other half soaking wet. The race at one point turned into which car was the best at sailing though, as the monsoon conditions absolutely chucked it down within the first 10 laps. The race was unsurprisingly red flagged as we waited for the rain to subside. 45 minutes later, we were back to racing once again, and it was all about who was going to be the first driver to move on to the intermediate tyre, as the track was starting to dry out pretty quickly in those hot conditions. Jenson Button, he was caught out when he just pit Lewis Hamilton at the pit stops for that change to the intermediate tyre. He went into the back of the HRT car from the Rain Carter Cayenne, and in the process damaging his front wing, then forced him out of contention for the rest of the race, which was a shame for him and the McLaren team. For all the chaos, it was Alonso and Sergio Perez in the Sauber who made the best calls, whether it be judged by good decisions through experience and a bit of luck as well. But they made those right choices and they got a handy lead over the rest of the field. Perez, though, chose the hard tyre when the track did dry out, the harder compound tyre, while Fernando Alonso went on the medium tyre, which is known as the quicker in terms of race performance. But the medium tyre quickly began to struggle. And the Mexican closed on to the back of the Spaniard very quickly. Near the end of the race, Perez clipped a curb, ran wide. It was still wet, that part of the circuit. He went wide into, I think it was the last corner before the back straight, which could have given him a chance to overtake Fernando Alonso. So that put him out of contention. He lost 4 seconds. So then it was an easier drive for Alonso for the last 4 laps, and he took an unquestionable huge relief in taking this win for Maranello and Ferrari, heading into the 3-week break then on towards China. Of course, Ferrari wouldn't have won if it was a dry race, but hey, this is motorsport. As one famous commentator put it, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. Hamilton finishing third, I think he'd be pretty happy with that, considering his main rivals had problems. Jenson Button, as I said earlier, losing his front wing, and Sebastian Vettel getting a puncture after a collision with the same driver in the Rain Carter Cayenne in the HRT. Same car later in the race though. I think it was 5 laps to go when that happened, so it was frustrating for Vettel. He was running 4th at the time, in the end scoring no points. Right, let's move on with some more news. Jean-Eric Vergne has nicknamed Jev by his race engineers, is intent on building his point scoring finish in Malaysia with an improved performance in next weekend's Chinese Grand Prix. It's been a 3-week break, given all the teams times to bring some minor upgrades perhaps. We don't normally get this big gap in these Fly races. Normally at the most we'll have a fortnight, but the Chinese Grand Prix now in just over a week's time, and after narrowly missing out on a top 10 finish on his debut at Albert Park, the Toro Rosso rookie impressed in the rain, clinching 8th place to gain his first World Championship points, and now he wants more. He said, "Getting my first points in F1 feels great. I'm eager to go to Shanghai and have another go. I think we have made a couple of mistakes in the first 2 races, and so I'm keen to get to China and be a stronger driver." The Frenchman has been busy at work in the Toro Rosso simulator since Malaysia, and he remains confident that the STR7 is a car capable of delivering more success. And finally, Sebastian Vettel didn't have the best of races in Malaysia, got frustrated, but he's feeling confident about his chances of getting his title defence back on track at the next 2 races after failing to score points in Malaysia. With Red Bull on the back foot at the start of the season, it seems world champion Vettel has been forced into damage limitation mode, whilst his team work on improving the RB8. After a storming drive to 2nd in Australia ensured his season got off to a solid start, He dropped out of 4th place, as I said, at Sepang following a controversial incident with Narain Karthikeyan, which ignited a war of words between the two drivers through the media. But with Red Bull working on upgrades to improve the RB8 single lap pace, in particular for the next week's Chinese Grand Prix, Vettel is feeling optimistic for Shanghai. I think Red Bull, will they bounce back? We don't know. They might come back and storm McLaren in qualifying. They do seem to be struggling a bit. McLaren seem to have got what Red Bull had in the last 2 seasons, and Red Bull have lost a bit of that flair in qualifying. They're stronger in the race, but not so in qualifying. But I'm sure they'll get to it. Of course, we've got 2 back-to-back races now, similar to how we had in Australia and Malaysia, this time with China and the controversial Bahrain Grand Prix. Looks like we're going to be racing there. Of course, you'll be up to date, keep up to date with all that news in the coming weeks. Please comment, rate and subscribe to this channel. And also, if you want to keep up to date with all the latest breaking news and gossip rumours, check out www.lewisroundf1.co.uk and also Lewis Round F1 on Twitter and Facebook. That's it for this week's F1 update. I'll be back next week as normal. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.